what's up everyone? It's Christina Tosi from Milk Bar. Now here's the thing. I believe that there is a brilliant, talented baker in every single one of you waiting to come out and play. You just need a little bit of insight, some coaching around the ingredients, the basics of baking, as well as where there's opportunity to let your imagination run free so that your true baker can come out and shine. Okay, so first things first, I like to think about my basic ingredients in my home kitchen based on how I use them in any basic dessert recipe, cookies, cakes, pies, that sort of thing. First things first with baked goods, the fats. Fat equals flavor. Fat is a necessary part of any great baked good. There are a bunch of opportunities for fat when you're baking in your home kitchen. Most recipes will call for a typical stick of butter. When it comes to butter, you are looking for unsalted butter. Salted butter is for the table, it's to put on your toast. Unsalted butter is for your baked goods. That allows you to adjust the salt and the sharpness of your flavor later on in the recipe. But most people don't think about the world of fats in baking beyond butter, and I think it's really important. I grew up baking with my grandma, and she always kept some shortening in her pantry. Incredible shelf life, doesn't need a refrigerator just in case it's hot outside or something goes on the fritz. And the cool thing about shortening, Crisco specifically, is it gives your baked goods a tenderness, a softness, a fluffiness, and it makes way for the other flavors in your baked goods. Now, I love to use Crisco shortening in frosting specifically, where I don't want butter to be the star of the show. If I'm making a banana flavored frosting, I will typically go to shortening so that the banana can actually be the star flavor as opposed to the unsalted butter. Now, butter and shortening are both solid fats at room or cold temperature, but there's also liquid fats, and that's oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, things you'll use in a cake recipe to help give your cake a softness, a fluffiness, and life. Now, when it comes to oil in a baked good, you want to go for a colorless, flavorless oil, and that's going to do something similar where it's going to give your baked good all the properties and moisture that fat brings without competing with the flavor story of your cake. Most baked good recipes are some combination of granulated sugar and light brown sugar, sometimes confectioner's sugar, which we usually use in frostings to keep things nice and fluffy and light and smooth. Now, the difference between sugar and light brown sugar is a little bit of a depth of flavor. It's a little bit of a moisture. What I love to think about in these two sugars, granulated sugar and light brown sugar, is the interchangeability of how you can substitute in light brown sugar for granulated sugar in a recipe, depending on what you want the depth of flavor of your baked good to be. Chocolate chip cookie. I like mine with a nice equal ratio of granulated sugar and light brown sugar. It gives a richness, a coziness, but also keeps things light and sweet. Most people don't know when it comes to sugar, there's more than granulated sugar, light brown sugar, confectioner's sugar, which by the way is just granulated sugar ground down 10 times finer than regular sugar. When I'm out of light brown sugar, I use a little bit of molasses and mix it with my granulated sugar. Boom, light brown sugar. Dark brown sugar, out of it, same thing. A little bit more molasses until you get that nice, deep, dark brown sugar spirit. Now, most people also don't think about sugars as a wide opportunity for a flavor story. So think maple syrup. Think about that chocolate chip cookie, and if you substituted in maple syrup for some of your granulated sugar or light brown sugar, what that could do with infinite possibility. Now it's time for the dry ingredients. Dry ingredients always starts with flour. Now, in the wild, wonderful world of flour, there's everything from cake flour to all-purpose flour, which is kind of like a mix between cake flour and bread flour, and then bread flour. Cake flour makes things light and fluffy and spongy like cake. Bread flour makes things dense and chewy and stringy, glutinous like bread. All-purpose flour is the flour that's right up the middle, a little bit of both worlds. The more you mix any of these flours, the closer you'll get to bread, and the less that you mix any of these flours, the closer you'll be to cake. I love it straight up the middle, all-purpose flour, and I mix the dry ingredients just as long as I need to. Now, Two most precious dry ingredients after flour: baking powder and baking soda. And I love the Clabber Girl baking powder and baking soda. It's tried and true. It shows up every single time. Baking powder gives your baked good lift from top to bottom. Baking soda gives your baked good breadth from right to left, basically. And a recipe that calls for a little bit of both gives your recipe this: a little bit of lift and a little bit of breadth. Baking powder and baking soda also give your baked good a little bit of flavor. You don't know it, you don't think about it, but it does. If you try and make a chocolate chip cookie recipe without your Clabber Girl baking powder, it doesn't quite taste the same. It also won't bake that same beautiful golden brown color, because baking powder and baking soda not only give you lift and flavor, but it gives a tenderness and a distribution of those nice caramelized golden brown colors in a baked good. Now you know. And then of course there's salt, or maybe not of course, because most people don't think about putting salt in their baked good or the dessert. Dessert is sweet, right? It's all about the sugar. In my opinion, wrong. Every recipe needs a little bit of salt. Not to make it salty sweet, but just to give a rounding of flavor, a sharpness, to help enhance whatever the flavor story of your baked good is. All these dry ingredients get mixed in together so that there's a nice, even distribution. There's a wild, wonderful world of things to bring your creativity in the kitchen to life once you've got the basics down. So let's start with liquid items. Extracts. I'm talking about vanilla extract, almond extract, lemon extract, and beyond. Those extracts typically go in with your eggs, your other wet ingredients, so that they distribute evenly, but they bring, in essence, a depth of flavor, a premium quality to your baked good to life. Now, depending on what extracts you use, you might want to think about using shortening if you really want that extract to sing as the primary flavor of your baked good. Otherwise, it'll play a really, really, really nice supporting flavor role, but gives a little, wink, wink of the baked good, which I love about extracts. Now, spices. Most people totally miss the opportunity that spice can bring to round out the flavor in a baked good. Whether it's ground cinnamon, a little bit of ground nutmeg, or a big heaping spoonful of ginger to bring warmth. Spices, especially really high quality spices that are fresh and that you care for and invest in, are amazing ways to give your baked good a little bit more edge, a little bit more personality, a surprise moment. You want to take spices when you are adding them to your baked goods, and you want to incorporate them into your recipe with your dry ingredients. Again, you keep dries together, you keep wets together so that they're always incorporating evenly and well distributed across your baked goods so that every bite is the perfect bite. And then there's mix-ins. I'm talking everything, of course chocolate chips, but peanut butter filled pretzels, cereal, mini marshmallows, huge marshmallows. There's an insane world of opportunity to bring texture and imagination to life, whether you're making a frosting, a cookie, a cake, a pie, and beyond. Now those mix-ins come into play after you're done mixing your dry ingredients. And that is because you don't want any of your fats or your eggs, your liquids, to adhere to the mix-ins until you already have a solid foundation of your batter, your dough, your frosting, or otherwise. And then, before you put any baked good in the oven, you gotta make sure to grease that baking sheet or that baking dish. That's to ensure an easy release so that when you go to scoop up that cookie or serve that slice of cake, it is picture perfect just the way you imagined it in your head. Best way to do that is to use some baking spray. Baker's Joy baking spray. It's not just a little bit of pan spray, pan grease. There's a little bit of flour in there too, which means that you get a beautiful even coating and even release on your baked goods so that when you go to pick it up, it's not, greasy or shiny on the bottom. It looks like it just sort of fell from the sky out of your imagination for you to serve up and impress every single person that gets a bite of your baked good. Good luck in the kitchen. I'm rooting for you. I believe in you. Don't underestimate the power of every single decision you make in ingredient land along the way. Keep similar ingredients together. fat equals flavor, leaveners are key, and make sure imagination is well represented in whatever you choose to bake. To find more delicious recipes, visit bakingathome.com.